namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvisesha Shunivadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone on the occasion of Gita Jayanti. It's a great fortune to discuss something about Bhagavad Gita on such an auspicious day when the scripture appeared. So we have been doing the 4th chapter, and we will just start with that invocation verse, which is Yamunacharya's verse, where he describes the contents of the 4th chapter. So this is text number 8, which I am looking at of this particular book called as Gita-artha Sangraha by Sripad Yamunacharya. So we are going to look at that, and then we are going to go into the Bhagavad Gita. So the verse is as follows: Prasangat swasvabhavoktihi karmano karmatasya cha veda jnanasya mahatmyam chaturtha adhyaya uchyate. So Yamunacharya says in the chaturtha adhyaya, in the 4th chapter, there are 4 themes in the 4th chapter. Prasangat swasvabhavoktihi. So initially, as a matter of the discussion, he talks about his own nature, the Lord's own appearance in this world. The first 11 verses, we know all those famous verses, Paritranaya Sadhunam and everything, why the Lord comes. Right? So this whole section happens in the context of the Karma Yoga. So please note that 3rd chapter, Krishna has spoken Karma Yoga, and Krishna starts 4th chapter by saying that don't think this is something new that I'm talking. I have spoken the same knowledge to Vivaswan, and it was coming in Parampara, but somehow it got lost. So I have again come to revive it. And then we know Arjuna is asking the question that how did you instruct Sun God and so on, because of which Krishna talks about his own nature of coming to this world. And that's the first part of the 4th chapter. The second part of the 4th chapter is Karmano Karmatasya cha. Karmano Karmatasya cha means how to see akarma in karma. That means how to see jnana yoga in karma yoga. Okay, so that is how he is defining it. So this is from verse number 12 to 24. So if you remember, we have seen this, right? So Krishna is talking in great detail about how the karma yoga only can be seen as a jnana yoga, because if it is having all those attributes, okay, so those attributes are mentioned in those 12 verses, like yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha. That means, right, nothing is done for just for enjoyment per se. Then Krishna talks about tyaktva karma phala sangam, not being attached to the result. Nitra tripto nirashraya, being satisfied no matter what and continuing to do what he's doing. So these qualities, if they are there within one's karma yoga, then the karma yoga itself becomes a karma, correct? It becomes jnana yoga. So here, interestingly, a karma is being translated as inaction or jnana yoga. That means if you do work in that consciousness, then it becomes like that. Okay, so this was the second part of the 4th chapter. The third part of the 4th chapter was Veda. Veda means the different types of karma yoga. So this is what we had done last time. So beginning from verse number 25, right, where Krishna talks, for example, about worshipping different devatas. Krishna talks about various fire sacrifices which people do. Krishna talks about controlling the mind and senses. Krishna talks about giving away possessions. Krishna talks about tapasya, doing some fasting, etc. Swadhyaya, reading the Vedic literature. Jnana, so Ramanacharya, if you remember, had said that he translates jnana as accumulating knowledge of, these shadangas like Vyakaran and Jyotish and all that. So all that is considered as jnana. So all this is types of karma yoga. So karma yoga is so broad, it includes all this, besides, of course, varnashram duties and all that. So Veda means different types of karma yoga. Krishna is mentioning from text number 25 to 32. And then now we are in the last part of the 4th chapter, which is called Jnanasya Mahatmyam. Jnanasya Mahatmyam, if you read it itself, the glories of Jnana. So one may say that, Hare Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga in 3rd chapter, and again in 5th chapter he's talking about Karma Yoga. Then how come suddenly in the middle he's talking about Jnanasya Mahatmyam? Because when you say Jnanasya Mahatmyam, it basically means the glories of Jnana. Correct? So in the discussion of Karma Yoga, why should Krishna bring the glories of Jnana? Because it seems contradictory, right? Because Arjuna had asked in the beginning of the 3rd chapter itself, what should I do, and so on. So there has to be a logical connection here. So the explanation given here is that this Jnanasya Mahatmyam is not the Mahatmyam of Jnana Yoga, but it is the Mahatmyam of the Jnana that is contained in Karma Yoga. Okay, so, right, because we had already previously said Karmano Karma Tasya. That means Krishna has already described how to see Jnana Yoga in Karma Yoga itself. That means when it is done with knowledge, when it is done with the right understanding. See, one thing about the Bhagavad Gita is that it just does not talk about action. It talks about the consciousness, the thought process behind that action. Okay, so that is what is being described in the 4th chapter. So in the 4th chapter, we call it as transcendental knowledge. This knowledge of the 4th chapter is the knowledge that must be there when one is doing Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, sorry. So that is this Jnana, this knowledge. It's not about giving up Karma Yoga and doing some knowledge, correct? So that is what is being called as Jnanasya Mahatmyam, the glories of knowledge, which is contained as part of your Karma Yoga execution. Okay, and this is the last part of the 4th chapter, which we will be seeing today. So let's go into the verses now. So this is from verse number 33 onwards. Okay, so I'll be reading, so 33 to 42, we'll be reading the verses as well as briefly explaining them. The translations I'm seeing from the Prabhupada translations, but the explanations I'm seeing again in the context of Yamunacharya and Ramanujacharya. So it's kind of, so that is how we'll be proceeding with this section, as we have been doing the other sections as well. So look at 4.33. Krishna says here, Shreyan Dravya Maya Yajna Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kila Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. Okay, so I'll just read the translation. Krishna saying, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed with knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So this is text number 33. And certainly, one may say, what is Krishna trying to say here? Shreyan Dravya Mayad. So that means with Dravya, because earlier Krishna had already said, you can do Karma Yoga with your possessions. Okay, that means giving up your possessions to your deity is Karma Yoga, right? So anybody offers anything, the possessions that they have, and they offer it to their deity, then that becomes Karma Yoga. But then, or deity, to the deity, or maybe, they're just giving it away. But here Krishna is saying, so Dravya is clearly Karma Yoga, because Dravya means possessions, and to have possessions, you need to do Karma Yoga and then only get your possessions. But now Krishna is saying that superior to that, Dravya Maya Yajna Jnana Yajna. That means knowledge is superior to that. So what does this mean? So Ramanujacharya gives a very nice example, and we can all relate to that also very easily. He says that it is just like, suppose somebody is worshipping the deity. While worshipping the deity, we offer so many articles to the deity, right? Like one offers incense, like we offer bhoga to the deity. So many things we offer to the deity. But more important than that dravya that you offer is the knowledge, right, behind it. That means this consciousness that this is for the deity, this is for his pleasure, this is not for my pleasure that I have made. So if you consider this particular example, when you offer any dravya in charity, in sacrifice, superior to that is the understanding behind why you are giving it. Okay, and that is what Krishna is saying here, right? And we can all appreciate this very much, right? Like we all know that story of that Brahman of Pratishthanapur, who did not have any dravya only. He was just sitting and meditating. And then we know that he puts his finger in the sweet rice and then his finger actually burns. Because the jnana was, because dravya was non-existent. The dravya was in his mind only, that Brahman of Pratishthanapur. But then his consciousness, his jnana was much, much way ahead. And that was accepted. So that's the point being said here. So again, please try to understand, this verse doesn't mean that Krishna is telling Arjuna that give up karma and come to jnana. In fact, that is going to be Arjuna's confusion in some way, because we see in the beginning of the 5th chapter, Krishna asks a similar question, where he's asking among the two, which is better and so on. So Arjuna is still looking at these two as slightly different. But Krishna is presenting jnana yoga, jnana here as integrated in karma. Krishna is saying that as you're doing karma yoga, you are sacrificing possessions, but more important than sacrifice of that possession itself is the jnana behind it. Now, please note, this doesn't mean that the possession need not be sacrificed. Dravya also has to be sacrificed, but Krishna is just emphasizing that when you are doing karma yoga, besides the karma, the jnana component which must be there in it, that knowledge that I am doing it for the pleasure of the deity or whatever it is, that is more important. And then Krishna is saying that jnane parisamapyate, very interesting, sarvam karma kilam partha. That means all actions done ultimately, they are, Krishna is saying that it is its goal. Parisamapyate means the second line, if you see this 33rd verse, sarvam karma kilam partha, all actions done, ultimately they will find their shelter in jnana. Okay, so in the sense, what Krishna is saying, again, Krishna is not here distinguishing that jnana as something different. What he basically says is, as you are doing karma yoga, the most important thing is that bhava, that knowledge, that understanding as to why I am doing something. Okay, without that understanding, if somebody does, then it seems it doesn't serve much purpose. So that's the point being said here. So we need to look at this verse just like we see the whole Bhagavad Gita without any contradiction. Krishna is not obviously saying that just because all actions are coming to jnana, that means action itself is not important and jnana only is important. No, Krishna is not saying that. So Krishna wants to emphasize that in this karma itself, that jnana must be there. Okay, that means the most mature understanding of karma yoga is such that it has this knowledge component in it, where one is very clear as to why one is doing something. Okay, the consciousness. So that is basically called as jnana here. Now somebody may say, Are, how can I keep getting this jnana? Because this jnana keeps going away from my mind. Okay, because see, in the beginning of karma yoga, karma is prominent. That means action is prominent, jnana is less. But Krishna is expecting that as you do karma yoga, your jnana must keep increasing. Your jnana must keep increasing. And that is, now how can that be possible? For that, Krishna is speaking the next verse, where Krishna is saying that you have to keep hearing the Shastra repeatedly. That is why this very famous 4.34 comes, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Such a beautiful verse, right? We all know Srila Prabhupada's translation. I'll read it nevertheless again. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. What a beautiful verse. In fact, in this one verse, many times we have this question of Vapu and Vani. Both things are getting covered here, if you see. Right, Krishna is talking about Vani, Upadekshanti, but he's talking about Vapu also, that you have to go, you have to serve, you have to, be in the physical sanidhya of the Guru. Okay, so let us try to understand that though we talk about Vani, but Vapu also has its own importance, right? So Vapu is also very important. That is why this whole Ritvik philosophy, where you can just take a guru who has, like Srila Prabhupada can be your initiating guru, etc. It doesn't make much sense, because you need instruction from someone who is physically present. And the guru's role in Shastra is very clear. How can you do sevaya to someone who is, I mean, you can serve him in his instructions, but here the verse is very clear that the service, pranipata, everything is to a physical guru. Okay, so the Vapu aspect is also extremely important. Huh? So that is covered in this verse, Vapu and Vani both. And Krishna is, so why is Krishna putting this verse over here? Krishna is putting this verse here because Krishna wants to say that for the Karma Yogi, he needs continuous inspiration to keep ensuring that his jnana is increasing. His, Vapu, sorry, not Vapu, Vapu. So the Karma Yogi needs to keep ensuring that his jnana or his mood or his consciousness while he's doing Karma Yoga is increasing. Increasing as in it is blossoming, as Krishna had said in the previous verse. And that is why this verse is coming here, that you need to repeatedly go to a guru and hear. And how to hear? Three things Krishna is saying. Pranipata. Pranipata means to fall at his feet with all parts of one's body, including mind, ego, etc. Sevaya, pariprashnena. This word pariprashna means don't challenge the acharya by showing that you're a big scholar, but very humbly ask him. And sevaya means to serve him, to serve the guru. Okay, so this was actually very important. Nowadays, it's not so much laid emphasis on because of the fast-paced life. But there is a story of Ramanujacharya where it is said that one of his disciples, Kuresh, he had a question. And Ramanujacharya also apparently didn't know, or at least at that point of time, didn't know how to explain it to Kuresh properly. So he told Kuresh, do one thing, go to my guru, Mahapurna, and stay with him and serve and ask this question from him. So Kuresh goes to the house of Mahapurna to ask him these questions. But then what happens is when he goes there, as per tradition, you just don't go and ask the question and come out. Okay, so what he does is he volunteers to serve Mahapurna. So 6 months, it is said, Kuresh stays at the house of Mahapurna and serves him. And it is said that he serves him, and Mahapurna also does not ask him, oh, what questions do you have? I want to answer, and so on. So he's serving, and it is going on. And then at the end of 6 months, Kuresh feels too much separation from Ramanujacharya, and he tells Mahapurna that, see, I've been here for 6 months, but I'm really missing my guru. So I wish to go back to him. At that point of time, Mahapurna said, oh, you had some questions, right? You had come for that reason long back. So he says, yeah, these were my questions. And then he answers all those questions to his full satisfaction. So it is something amazing because the Vedic literatures in general give a lot of importance to that personal relation with the guru, which is accomplished by this service. Otherwise, it is simply not there. Okay, so perhaps since most of us may have not undergone such a system where we stay in the ashram of a guru and serve him, we may not be able to connect to it and really appreciate this point. But this is something emphasized everywhere. Whether you read Mahabharata or Upanishads or anywhere, you will always see this has been given great importance. Sevaya, to serve the guru. You know, only then one. So very personally serve him. And then only you get the jnanam from that person. So that is how Krishna has presented it here in a very, very personal way. So what is the context of this verse? So let's remember, the context of this verse is to Upadikshanti. Now this word Upadikshanti is also very interesting. Ramanujacharya says here, Upadekshanti means he will instruct you. He will instruct you means the point is that for the Acharya also there is a rule that he must instruct a prospective student. So if a student comes and he does all these three things, Pranipata, Pariprashna and Sevaya, then the Acharya cannot say that I will not instruct you. He has to instruct. So the term used here is Upadekshanti. He must. He doesn't have an option. He must instruct. Okay. And why? Because he has seen the truth. So he must instruct, and that is his characteristic. So this is how Krishna explains. So this is how Krishna is explaining how the karma yogi can increase the jnana in him. Correct? Because upadekshanti te jnanam. That means the right mood, the right consciousness, the right understanding behind doing every action is obtained from the guru. Okay, so I repeat, so the process is you do some karma yoga, go to the guru, hear from him, and then increase your jnana. and then again do the karma yoga, but with increased jnana. And then again, after some time, you again go to the guru and hear, and he again instructs. And again, that becomes part of your karma yoga life. And in this way, you keep doing what you were doing previously only, but your jnana keeps blossoming. So that is how this whole section has been explained by Sripad Ramanujacharya in the context of karma yoga. Okay, so please try to remember that this whole thing has come in this particular section. Okay, and it's very amazing to think about it. And we also understand that karma yoga is a very broad thing, which included control of senses, which included going to the guru, developing the right consciousness, and still continuing to work in the world. So that is how Krishna is explaining jnanasya mahatmyam here. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Then the next verse, right? So after this, what happens? So in 4.35, Krishna is saying, Yajñatvana punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutan yasheshena drakshasyatman yatomai. Okay, so I'll just read the translation. Srila Prabhupada's translation here is, having obtained knowledge from the self-realized soul, you will never fall back into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are part of me. So Krishna is saying the effect of that knowledge. So basically that means yajñatvana punarmoham. Punarmoham means one doesn't fall in bodily consciousness again. Okay, and this is important while doing karma yoga. So in karma yoga, this is also considered important. Then one doesn't fall prey to bodily consciousness, and one remembers Atma Tattva. And Atma Tattva is obtained from the Guru. Okay, so that you don't fall in bodily consciousness, you keep hearing these statements and verses again and again. Okay, so when we hear these instructions from the Guru, then at least that knowledge keeps getting added in our life slowly, slowly. So this is considered. So Ramanujacharya gives a very nice example. He says about Lord Ram, he says, just as a bird needs two wings, any acharya also needs jnana and anusthana. Anusthana means actually practice. Okay, so Ramanujacharya says one should do anusthana like Lord Rama, and one should speak like Krishna, because he says that Rama's anusthana or practice was just amazing, right? Because if you see Lord Ramachandra, every aspect of his, the way he practiced karma yoga, in his life, it was just amazing. So there is one verse in the Ramayana where Valmiki says Bahushrutanam Vriddhanam. It starts like that, where Valmiki says that Lord Rama, very often he would keep hearing great sages. Okay, this Rama hearing great sages was not only when he was in Ayodhya, where he was hearing Vasishta, Vamadeva, etc., but even when they were in the forest, Aranyakanda, you will see frequently Rama meets Atri, Anusuya. He meets different great sages. Bahushrutanam. Bahushrutanam means very well heard. Bahushrutanam means repeatedly he would hear Lord Rama. Vriddhanam. Vriddhanam here doesn't only mean elderly people. It means someone who is experienced. Vriddha with knowledge. So you will see that. So similarly, the Pandavas also you will see in the, when they are in the forest in exile, you will see that so many sages they keep meeting, Markandeya and so many. They always look for opportunities to meet with sages and have a personal dialogue with them, asking questions. So this is said to be the duty of everyone, to personally meet such people and try to ask, various questions and increase one's jnana. Here, jnana doesn't just mean theoretical knowledge. It basically means the right understanding, the right mood which must be there in anything that we do. Okay, and then Krishna is saying in 35, in text number 35, Yajñatvana punar moham. So like this, if you keep hearing from the Guru, you will not fall into that bodily consciousness again. You will not fall into moha, illusion again. Okay, and you will understand me. Now going to text 36. Api chedasi papepya sarvebhya papakrittamah sarva jnana plaveneva vrijanim santarishyasi. Oh, such a beautiful verse, right? 36. Krishna is saying, even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, okay, even if you are considered like that, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Okay. So let's go back to the verse again. Apichedasi papebhya sarvebhya papa krittamaha. Krishna is saying that knowledge is going to help you break down your sins. Okay, so please try to understand this. That means in Karma Yoga, there are two things. As we always say, there is action and there is the knowledge behind the action. So again and again, these acharyas give the example of chess. Because chess is a game where there is some action. You're moving your hand, taking the pawn from one place and putting it another place. But more important than the action of the game in chess is the knowledge, right? So somebody is carefully thinking how to plan the next move. So similarly, they say that karma yoga is to be done like that, where there is action in terms of your varnashram or anything else, but behind doing everything, this knowledge has to be there. The knowledge of duality, the knowledge of I am the Atma, I'm here in this world doing this action according to my nature, the knowledge that I should not be attached to the fruit, the knowledge that the three modes are impelling me to do this. So by repeatedly hearing from the Guru, this knowledge should be an automatic part of our life. And Krishna is saying in this verse that if you have that knowledge, then only your sins will break down. So that's the point here. Okay. So that means the karma yoga part, that means doing the action will help reduce rajoguna and tamoguna. So please remember, this we discussed in 3rd chapter. Why it reduces rajoguna, tamoguna? Because when somebody does an action which is suitable according to his nature, then he is happy. When he is happy, he becomes situated in sattva-guna. Okay, so when he is frustrated, only then he falls down to rajoguna, tamoguna. So basically, doing karma yoga protects one from following to rajoguna, tamoguna, but sins are not destroyed. If you want your sins to be destroyed, as you see in this verse, Sarva Jnana Plaveneva, knowledge is the oar, which is going to help us break our sins and cross over. Santarishyasi. Okay, so beautifully we are understanding from the Gita that without that right understanding, our sins cannot go. So the understanding has been given so much importance in this particular verse, as you see. Right. Now, Krishna is not just happy by giving one example. Krishna has already given here the example that Jnana, the Jnana part of Karma Yoga. Please remember, again, I'm saying this point. This Jnana being spoken in this chapter is not the pure Jnana Yoga, but it is the component of Karma Yoga only. When you're doing Karma Yoga, you must have that knowledge. And that is what Krishna is talking. So Krishna gave one example of boot in this verse, but Krishna is not happy with that. So he's giving another example. Yate damsi samiddognir basmasad kurute Arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani basmasad kurute tata. Okay, so Ramanujacharya says here now Krishna is giving the examples of sins being like wood and knowledge as the fire that burns the wood. So why is he giving this example? Because in the previous example, Krishna gave the example of a boat. But the problem with boat is you can cross the ocean and again you can come back in the same boat only. So somebody may feel that if knowledge is like a boat, then I may cross the ocean, but then again in the same boat I may come back also. But now here if you see this particular verse number 37, Krishna is saying here, as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, the fire of knowledge burns to ashes all reactions to material activities. Okay, so in this particular verse number 37, Yate damsi samiddognir basmasat kurute Arjuna. Krishna is saying that this knowledge, if you do karma yoga with knowledge, that knowledge has the power to burn all the sins. Your sins are like wood and knowledge is compared to the fire, right? And sarva karmani. So here sarva karmani means punya is also destroyed. Okay, so this is another interesting point made by Ramanujacharya. Here he says sarva karmani, jnanagni sarva karmani. That means what punya papa, everything is going to go to ashes, so person can easily get moksha. So in this way, now we are also seeing how karma yoga with jnana yoga practice nicely can slowly open the doors towards liberation for a person, because sarva karmani means all your good actions are also burnt with it. Okay, now look at the next verse. Krishna is glorifying the knowledge part of it. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhir kalenatmani vindati. Nahi jnanena sadrisham, nothing is as pure as knowledge, Krishna is saying. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhim kalena atmani vindati. We will, okay, one second, we'll just see the translation once again. 30th, in this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. We'll go back to the verse here. So the first part, there are two parts to this verse, the first line, second line. The first line, Krishna is saying, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram idyate. Krishna is saying, this knowledge is the greatest. There is nothing as pure and exalted as this, Krishna is saying. So somebody may have a question, how come Krishna is calling this knowledge as greatest? Because till now, knowledge of Krishna has not yet come, right? I mean, here we are only talking about knowledge of Atma, knowledge of the three modes and all that. So somebody may say, how come, this knowledge only is called as Pavitram and most pure? Because knowledge of Paramatma or knowledge of Krishna, Krishna's opulences has not yet come in the Bhagavad Gita till now. So isn't that knowledge most pure? So the answer he gives is, well, leave aside that part. In this world, among all things that are there in this world, knowledge of Atma is the most pure and greatest. So this jnana in this verse is referring to knowledge of Atma only, right? I mean, we have not yet come to Paramatma and Bhagavan description in Bhagavad Gita. So the understanding is that in this world, this is considered most pure. Obviously, there is going to be even greater knowledge that we will see later, the knowledge of Krishna's opulences, the knowledge of Krishna's greatness, sweetness, and so on. That will come later. But till now, this is considered the best of all knowledge. And another, the second line is very important. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhim kalein atmani vindati. Somebody may say, Arey, this knowledge, you're saying, but I'm not obtaining only this knowledge. So Krishna is saying, don't worry. Kalein atmani vindati. Kalein atmani vindati means isko time lagta hai. It will take time for you to develop this knowledge. You keep doing the process of karma yoga, keep hearing from the guru, keep trying to imbibe that consciousness in your action. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhim. Here yoga, please remember, is karma yoga only, correct? Because Krishna has not got bhakti yoga or anything till now. So yoga and yoga is not jnana yoga also. Yoga means karma yoga only. This yoga samsiddhim, this karma yoga itself can give you this siddhi. But when can it give this to you? Kalein atmani vindati. Prabhupada translates kalein atmani vindati as in due course of time. Matlab, patience rakhna padega, dheeraj rakhna padega. With time we are going to get this jnana as part of our existence. So Krishna is asking us to be patient also and not get worried too much about when it will happen quickly and so on. Right, the last three verses for 39. Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparas samyatendriyaha jnanam ladva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. Okay, in the 39th verse, Krishna is saying, faithful man who has dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Okay, so so the point is Shraddhavan. So first one must have faith. So one must have faith that this process of karma yoga and jnana yoga will work. It means karma yoga with jnana, sorry, not jnana yoga separately, but one must have faith that this process that Krishna has mentioned, that start your karma yoga and incorporate jnana as part of it, keep hearing from a guru, keep improving yourself. This particular thing that Krishna has described, the cycle, doing karma yoga, cleaning sins, hearing from Acharya, developing the right mood, and with that mood, cleaning yourself further, evolving in your jnana and understanding. So this cycle which is there, Krishna is saying that one must have faith in it, because everything starts from faith only, correct? And when you have faith in it, tatparaha means then you will understand that this is important for me. And then Krishna also says, samyatendriyaha. Now here, one more dimension to karma yoga Krishna is opening, which Krishna will describe in the 5th chapter also, control of senses. So in karma yoga, sense control also is very important. And this is going to be elaborated in the 5th chapter also a lot, where, all those verses come, yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yone evate and all that. So it's all connected to this now. Now Krishna is taking him higher and higher. Krishna is saying karma yoga also include this component. That means you keep your senses under check. And when your senses are under check, and when you have faith, and then when you follow the system, then what will happen? this jnana which is there of the karma yoga, the jnana of karma yoga, not some separate jnana. Okay, so separate jnana yoga, please remember, again and again I'm reiterating, it is the Upanishadic mark where you give up action and you're only sitting and focusing on yourself, right? And you progress. Like the four Kumaras were jnana yogis, right? Or Nava Yogendra. So many examples are there in the scripture. They were not doing any karma yoga. They were directly doing jnana yoga only. But Krishna is not mentioning that jnana here. Krishna is saying that you do karma yoga only, but accumulate the right understanding as you are doing karma yoga, and that understanding will give you param shantim. This param shantim, Ramanujacharya says the same shanti which Krishna mentioned in 2.70 Bhagavad Gita, Aporyamana Machala Pratishta, where you can remain very peaceful in life. Okay, just you do this much. You do your action in this world with the right understanding, you can be peaceful in the world. You don't need anything else. Okay, so the peace formula is so easy to obtain, right? So Krishna is giving, so this is again a beauty of Bhagavad Gita, because of which we call Bhagavad Gita as Vyavahara Shastra and Moksha Shastra. Gita is not just Moksha Shastra, it is also Vyavahara Shastra because it is teaching us how to live in this world, right? And this is how to live in this world, doing the action which we are supposed to with the right understanding. And then let's go to 4.40. Krishna is saying here, Agnyascha Ashtadhanascha Samshayatma Vinashyati Nayam Lokostina Paro Nasukam Samshayatmanaha. Okay, so the translation is, ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scripture do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Okay, so Krishna is saying that if you don't know anything about a subject, okay, then you don't get Shraddha in it. Else one keeps having doubt. So Samshayatma means, continuously to keep doubting whether this will work, so on. This is not the process. So Krishna is saying that Agya means you don't know only. Ashraddhana means to not have faith, and Samshayatma means to keep having doubts. So these are three different things. Subtly there is a difference in all of them. If you see, Agnya is first level where you are ignorant. Then you come to know something, okay, but then faith doesn't come. Now faith has also come, but still again and again samshay keeps coming, right? Again and again doubts keep coming. Okay, so of course one can always go to the guru and ask, as it was already said in 4.34, but at the same time it's not that we have too many fundamental doubts about anything, right? Fundamentally we need to be clear about the process. One may, as with time, one may have some small things understanding, okay, whether it is like this or like that. But it cannot be that one has some basic doubts about Atma, about three modes, about Paramatma. Basic concepts one should be very clear about in life. Okay, so Krishna is basically saying even Sukha isn't possible for Samshayatmana. Okay, one cannot even be happy in this world if one is always in doubt. Okay, so the glory of Jnana within Karma has now been done. So with this verse, Ramanujacharya says that this fourth part, Jnanasya Mahatmyam, the glory of Jnana is complete. Now the remaining two verses are only summarizing the chapter. And with that summary, we will be concluding and taking questions. Okay, so just the last two verses. So again, beautiful verse. So let's see how Krishna summarizes. Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Jnana Sanchinna Samshayam Atmavantam na karmani nibandhanti dhananjaya. Reading the translation, Prabhupada writes, one who acts in devotional service renouncing the fruits of his actions and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge is situated factually in the self. Thus he is not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of the riches. So this is considered a summary of the chapter. Why it is considered a summary? Yoga here means karma yoga. Sanyasta karmanam. Sanyasta karmanam, when you give up, when you see this Sanskrit word, sanyasta means to give up. Karmanam means work. So somebody may say sanyasta karmanam means giving up work. No, but that's not the meaning of sanyasta karmanam. Sanyasta karmanam, of course, Prabhupada translated it as giving up fruits of action. So that is one way you can see sanyasta karmanam. So even in Prabhupada's translation, what you understand is, Prabhupada is not saying here Sanyasta Karmana means give up action, but he's talking about give up fruits of action. Ramanujacharya, how he translates this word is he says Sanyasta Karmana means give up this understanding that I have to do only karma. Because you are supposed to do karma integrated with jnana, right? You are supposed to add jnana to your life. So nobody should do karma yoga thinking that it is just about the action. Okay, it is about the knowledge also, which has to be integrated with it. So kevala karma means only karma. If somebody thinks that I just have to do work, like many times people have this wrong understanding of Bhagavad Gita, right? They think that just work is worship. In a very crude way, they think. Okay, it is correct. Work is worship, but there has to be an understanding behind why and when that work becomes worship. Without that understanding, work simply doesn't become worship. Okay, sannyasta karmana means he says one should not think that simply by doing karma without proper understanding I am going to progress. Okay, since such a meaning of all, so okay, so it is something like Ramanujacharya says that suppose somebody is building a temple. Okay, he has to have this understanding why I am building the temple. The temple is not just made of some stones and brick and everything. It is not just karma. There is a mood behind making the temple. So similarly, he says behind the karma yoga, one should have that jnana, and because that is the whole focus now of this fourth chapter. You have to add jnana to karma. Jnana sanchinya samshayam, and with the jnana, all your doubts can be destroyed. Okay, so that is why jnana is important, because doubts keep coming, and for doubts to be destroyed, one needs jnana. Okay, and atmavantam na karmani nibandanti jananjaya, and such a person is not bound by karma. Okay, such a person becomes free, and because he becomes free, he is going to now progress on the path of mukti. So this is how beautifully Krishna is summarizing the fourth chapter, right? Because the whole idea of fourth chapter is in karma yoga, jnana is getting added in it. Okay, and in this way, this integrated karma yoga with jnana, with knowledge, when you are doing karma yoga, you are going to progress a lot. Okay, so this is the whole thing of fourth chapter. And the final verse, tasmad ajnana sambudam kritstam jnana sinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto tishta bharata. Okay, Krishna is saying, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight, Krishna is saying. Okay, so here again, please remember this yoga means karma yoga only. Okay, so we are saying this again and again because when we go to the sixth chapter, there yoga means dhyana yoga. It is some other yoga. Okay, but here in this context, yoga is karma yoga. Krishna will again and again not keep saying that. So what is Krishna saying? Krishna is saying that destroy your doubts with knowledge about Atma. Tasmad ajnana sambudam. Whatever doubts you get, you're supposed to destroy it with knowledge. And this knowledge you will get from the Guru. You will also get from your practice. You will also get it from time. Krishna had so many things in this chapter, Krishna said, right? We saw today that it's not something that the knowledge will immediately. That means you hear from the Guru, okay, you have understood things, but then you have to go back and do karma yoga and incorporate that knowledge in your life. And with time, Krishna said that, there was one verse where Krishna said, achirenadi gacchati. Achirenadi gacchati matlab time ke saath hi sab kuch hoga. That's why we see that maturity in a person certainly comes with time. It's not that immediately a person can become, like we see this, right? People take time to become mature because with time you get a particular maturity. Of course, not only with time, but by hearing the Guru, putting it in your life, practicing it, and then slowly, this particular thing happens. So in this way, the fourth chapter has been very beautifully, explained here. Okay, now before I take questions, I'll just answer one thing which I think was already put up on the chat. This again, because that's a doubt, this whole doubt about where are we coming from? Okay, whether we have fallen from the spiritual world or what. Okay, so as I mentioned in the QA chat, this question isn't that important for the reason being that whether we were here always, as some people say, so I mean, to set the technical matter straight, most acharyas have written that one hasn't fallen from the spiritual world. Okay, so this includes acharyas of other sampradaya, and also even Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami. They haven't said that you fall from the spiritual sky. At least they haven't written like that. So, and others have said that no, Nityabadda means he's always here only. But everybody, so whether someone says you fell from spiritual world, like Prabhupada would say that, at least in conversations and letters, he has said this, that we have fallen from the spiritual world. But the point is, whether you fell from the spiritual world or whether you were here always, the soul's nature, original nature is spiritual. That everybody has accepted. Okay, so that Chaitanya Charitamrita verse is there, right? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabana Shravanadi Shuddhi Chitta Karayodaya. That means the soul or this Atma has this nature to be connected to Krishna. Okay, and that can be revived by the process of Shravanam Kirtanam. Okay, so that's why even when we use the word back to Godhead, somebody may say, Are, how do you say back to Godhead if you have not been from there? The point is, that's a technical matter, whether you came from there or you're always here or whatever. But the thing is, the original nature of the Atma is spiritual, which is accepted by everybody. And that is the destination of the Atma. Okay. So because of that, back to Godhead can also be understood in this context of those who say that you are always here, that you're going back to your original nature, which is spiritual. Okay. Despite, so that part is accepted by everyone. But whether we came from Vaikuntha or whether we were here, so that there is some difference of opinion. So I think it's a matter of some technical difference that doesn't change the process of Krishna consciousness that we have, right? I mean, because whether this is right or that is right, it makes no difference, because we have to anyway practice. I mean, in either way, one has to practice and get oneself liberated and go back to the spiritual world. So this is the point. So I just wanted to add that in connection to what we were having a chat on QA group, right? So I'll just take some questions. So I'll just just give me a second. Yeah, so we'll just take questions now. So Vaibhavanand Prabhu, please go ahead. Haribol?
Specifically for this Karma Yoga part. Can you hear me?
One second. Yeah, now only I can hear you. Yeah, now only I can hear. Please say.
Oh, okay, thank you. Your classes have really opened my mind. I'm hearing from the last 1 week, same last 4 classes. It's really amazing. Other part, Prabhuji, why I was, writing that back to Godhead, because this particular thing has, created a faction with, ISKCON, GBC, and this one scholar of, Jiva Institute, who is the head. So he was with ISKCON, and, he seems to be, doing quite well as far as his scholarly work, and he's from IIT. He's a good person. He's now a sannyasi. So when such a thing has created such a big faction, and he has created a lot of good things which he could have done with ISKCON, and he did not had a good experience. At least that is his side, his part of the story, that he did not had the good experience with ISKCON GBC, and GBC went on to ban him. So that's why this thing becomes quite important, because this is Siddhantic part. Is this a deviation? And he has written a book just to make sure to put up his point that actually Jiva does not fall. So that's why I asked this question. Yeah.
Okay. See, yeah, I understood. As I said earlier, if you look at, I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, as I said earlier, there are both kinds of comments from Acharyas either way. Okay. In our Sampradaya and other Sampradayas also. Many have said the same thing what he says, others have said what we hear from Prabhupada. Okay, so I think that I would say that it is not a very fundamental part of our philosophy. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Because this has not been emphasized so much in the scriptures. I mean, if you read any Shastra, they don't talk so much about where you came from. They just say, either they say that you have been conditioned eternally, or they say that your nature is spiritual and you can revive that. Okay, so I think that Shastra fundamentally doesn't give so much importance to it. And because it doesn't give, we shouldn't look at this aspect as a very core aspect of our philosophy
and create a difference or a fight just based on it. That's my take on it, because I feel that, okay, how does it matter? In either case, you have to do the same thing, right? You have to do karma yoga, you have to do bhakti yoga, you have to worship Krishna, you have to work towards getting, right? You contribute in this world as part of karma yoga, and you aspire to go back to the spiritual world. So this is going to remain same from both perspectives. So there is nothing to be done. See, please try to understand. One purpose of Shastric discussion is to understand what is to be done from tomorrow. Okay, that means kal se main kya karu. So my point to you is, either viewpoint if you take, is there any change in what you're going to do from tomorrow? Nothing. I mean,
Yeah, true.
There's no difference, right? Whether you were here always, as Ramaracharya says, or as Jiva Goswami says, or whether you take what Prabhupada said, that you fell down from the spiritual sky, from tomorrow morning, what are you going to do? You have to chant your rounds, you have to worship the deity, you have to practice karma yoga, you have to support your family, you have to contribute to dharma in this world. All that goes on. So the point is, why make such a, I would say, such a trivial issue as such? Because it has not been emphasized so much in the scripture. In fact, many acharyas have not written anything about it. That's another problem. And perhaps they didn't write anything about it because it was just not important. So simply, why to break your head on something which is not important, as to where you came from and how long you have been here. So, like, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur says anadi karma phale, anadi actually means eternally. That means anadi karma phale, matlab kab se ho, kisi ko bhi malum nahi hai kab se ho karke. Chhod do abhi, aaye kab se kidhar se aaye, we don't know it.
Okay, actually, because it has created some faction, that's why.
Yeah, I know it has created, and I know that many people are taking this point too seriously. So my own take on it is that it doesn't. My own take is only this: based on this one point, nothing changes in your life from tomorrow. Nothing changes. It is not. See, please try to understand. There is sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Sambandha means knowledge. Abhideya means the process. Prayojana is the goal. Abhideya, prayojana badalne nahi wala hai. What you have to do, you have to do. Prayojana is the goal. That is also not changing. So this one small aspect of sambandha, it doesn't, it doesn't change anything from tomorrow for you and me. So that's my point. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah. My next question is, few more questions I have, Guruji. My next question is that how do you see the sannyasi or Babaji? Should we read his work, because his work seems to be quite good
Yeah, I know about
and
this
in line
person.
with the. So
Yeah, see,
how do you
I
see
would
us?
say that, see, what happens now. I understood this person. He is genuine only, but the thing is now how much he lays importance on this aspect over other things. That part I don't know so well, because I feel that there is no need to lay emphasis only on this part so much. It's not such an important thing. And as far as taking knowledge from different places, it is fine if we can handle it. See, please try to understand, taking knowledge from different places is never stopped in the scripture. But the only thing is, you should be able to handle, you should be able to reconcile things and not get confused. So
Yeah,
as
because
long
there
as,
is a
yeah,
conclusion, there is a convention, I think, or there is a conclusion within GBC that whoever associates with Satyanarayan Das Babaji, he is a deviant. So
yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's a very strong stand they have taken. But yeah, I guess they had to do that because Prabhupada said very clearly on this point. But the problem is others have not said. Okay, so see, unfortunately now Prabhupada is not there physically with us, where we could have asked him that, because see, those times the disciples also were not that advanced, or they didn't have so much knowledge to ask Prabhupada from where did you get this point? Then maybe Prabhupada would have explained, okay, this is a place where I read it or I heard from, something like that. So we cannot clarify that from Prabhupada in person, because right, he has already passed away. So we only have his statements, and I don't think he has written in his books, but he mentioned that in his conversations and letters. But because there is no pramana to it from most acharyas in the past, we are stuck.
okay.
We are stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. My next question is that you are talking about Jnana Yoga with Karma Yoga.
No,
Now,
I'm
so
not
it
talking
is
about Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga. I'm talking about Jnana jnana embedded in karma. That means action with knowledge. That is fourth chapter. Please remember, it is not jnana yoga. When you say jnana yoga, that is the separate process. उसमें क्या होता है कि that is like, I'll tell you, like Sant Jnaneshwar did jnana yoga. He withdrew from the world. 4 Kumaras, Nava Yogendras, ये जो सब examples है ना, Shukdev Goswami initially was a jnani, they say. So that means you first withdraw from the world and then you are just meditating on the Atma. That is jnana yoga. So here Krishna is not talking about that only. Krishna is saying that in your karma yoga, add the jnana in it. And what is the jnana to be added? All these things. Understanding that you have to tolerate duality, understanding that the fruits are not yours, understanding that you have to do it for the welfare of society, understanding that it is because of the modes that you are doing all this, understanding that I am a soul, I am the Atma caught up in this body, understanding that I have to sacrifice my possessions, I have to sacrifice my, I have to use all the time in my world to do all this. So this is the, the understanding part of it, which should be in karma yoga. So it's technically not jnana yoga, but jnana combined in it. Yeah, I mean, but that's the matter of technical difference.
Okay, so this jnana that I am doing it for Krishna, does that make it bhakti yoga?
Yeah, that will make it bhakti yoga. That is what we will come to from the 7th chapter. Currently, we are not talking about bhakti yoga because bhakti yoga bhi aaya hai nahi abhi tak. First,
but it is
karma yoga.
But it will become bhakti yoga automatically.
Yeah, the same thing is going to become bhakti yoga. So see, in 3rd chapter we spoke about only karma yoga. Now in 4th chapter we are speaking about karma yoga with jnana. Okay.
So then how do you segregate bhakti yoga and karma yoga with jnana? So how do you segregate both of them?
No, it only gets added. Nothing gets deleted. Then see, all this understanding is important for the bhakta also, na? But that bhakti gets added. So we will see that. Abhi bhakti yoga bhi aaya nahi. We'll see that later.
Okay. Now next is that, diksha and siksha. So some devotees say that until and unless you take siksha, diksha has no meaning because diksha means initiation.
Yeah.
And until and unless you, serve a spiritual master with him, there is no meaning of taking diksha.
Yeah, that is actually, vapu is important. Yeah, okay.
So then how do you, so then, those devotees who are staying away from spiritual master or who are taking their siksha from somewhere else, not from the spiritual master directly or not serving the spiritual master, does that diksha play the same role as for a person who has taken diksha and actually serving the spiritual master?
Yeah, I got your point. See, there is some ideal, there is some ideal thing, and there is what actually happens. Okay, so it is very clear that ideally one stays with the guru, serves the guru, hears, and so on. I mean, who wouldn't like to do that, right? I mean, that's the best, where you have Vapu and Vani both. Okay, now, but so and that is how it has been in the past, or you could say that where people did it and so on. But even this model was there in the past. If you see in Chaitanya Leela, Madhavendra Puri goes and gives initiation to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. It's not that they stayed together for a very long time. Right? Okay. They already had Shiksha from somebody, but then they just took Diksha from Madhavendra Puri and they continued their spiritual life. So this model also exists where you take Shiksha and Diksha from different people and you continue like that. So it's not that this model is only in ISKCON or it is alien. No, it's not like that. It's like I gave you example, right? Madhavendra Puri was traveling and he gave initiation to so many of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. But at least the biography doesn't seem that they stayed together for a very long time. I think they were there together very, very briefly, actually.
Okay.
Correct.
And why doesn't Ramayana Mahabharata talk about Diksha of Lord Ram or Diksha of Pandavas?
That was not considered very important. Actually, Shiksha was considered always important. That's why you see Sampradaya also is mainly Shiksha centered. So it doesn't mean that they may have not got Diksha, but it was not, Shiksha is always considered paramount. It's considered fundamental. So they obviously they don't talk about it. Maybe they took, maybe they didn't, whatever it may be. That doesn't change anything, right? Like even if you see in our Sampradaya, which the Prabhupada has put at the end in Bhagavad Gita, it is Shiksha Sampradaya, na? It's not so much Diksha Sampradaya. It's like, I mean, somebody like Baladev Vidyabhushan is not even initiated in Gaudiya. He's Madhva initiated person, but he took inspiration from Yeah, so like that. So Shiksha is considered actually primary.
Achha, just last two questions. That scholars are born in, non-Brahman families. For example, Prabhupada born in Vaishya family. There are a lot of scholars in ISKCON today. They are not coming from Brahmanical families, but they are very scholarly in their, presentation. So how do you see that, or how is this reconciled? Why does that happen in Kali Yuga?
No, that was, I don't think that that is unique here because let me just try to think. The concept of Rishi, if you see, like in Mahabharata, we see Vyada Gita, right?
Yeah.
Where the Vyada is a butcher family person. And he's talking Gita to that who are Kaushik Brahman. So the idea that someone not born in Brahmin family cannot be evolved in knowledge doesn't exist in Shastra also. So there are examples like that given. Maybe they are less in number, but the examples are there. Shastras have not said that only like in Bhagavatam also. Sutta Goswami is not a Brahmin, by birth. He's mixed caste. Mother is, I think, father is Kshatriya, mother is Brahmin, something like that. Sutta Goswami, right? So, but he's speaking the Puranas. So I don't think that if you see the Mahabharata and the Puranas, nowhere it is said that all the people who were giving talks were only born Brahmin like that. There are people of mixed caste. There are people of quote unquote lower jatis who were also evolved and they were accepted as teachers. Shabari's guru who was there in the Ramayana, he was not a Brahmin. Very clearly it is given. He was not a Brahmin by caste, by jati or anything. That their whole ashram, they were some other jati only totally. But they were all
being a guru and reading Shastras and going deep into Shastras. Speaking on Shastra is one thing. But going deep into Shastras is another thing.
They do go deep. It's not that, I mean, all of them were doing tapasya and it is said that before Shabari met Lord Ram, all of them had actually gone back either to the celestial world or, back to Godhead. I mean, depending on how you look at that verse. And in the Vyada Gita, that person, that he's Dharma Vyad is talking about everything. He's talking a whole Bhagavad Gita. He's talking about all things of knowledge. So, Sutta Goswami, I mean, he's talking Bhagavad Puran. Come on, he's talking everything from top to down. So, I don't think this was such a very hardcore restriction.
Okay,
just a last question. More strictly today.
Yeah, just a last question. How do you see the controversial birth of Lord Ram? Because there have been a lot of people who have been accusing Hindus that you do not know about the birth of Lord Ram, specifically Muslims, that actually it's the worst kind of a birth which can happen. So how do you see that?
Worst kind of, but I didn't understand why. Acha, that horse.
I mean, they say that, that's what.
No. I want to study that little bit. I'll get back to you. Give me some time on that. There was some explanation I'd heard long back. I forgot. I'll get back on this. Haribol. Any other question? Anybody else? Yeah. Saragai, Prabhu. Go ahead. Yeah, Haribol.
Prabhuji, I mean, like, I was hearing classes in the temple. So, I mean, like, whenever, like, most of the times it happens that, like, when devotees say anything about Karma Yoga, they am like related with like all these things are part of Bhakti Yoga, right? I mean, like, whenever we talk about doing job or taking care of family and everything, it is considered as Bhakti Yoga. But what happens is that, I mean, like, whenever the activities of Bhakti Yoga are discussed, it is mostly about hearing and chanting only.
Prabhuji, there is a difference now, because actually job is not Bhakti Yoga. See, what is Bhakti Yoga? You have to read Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That is a foundational book of Bhakti Yoga. Rupa Goswami has mentioned 64 items of devotional service. Where has he mentioned Varnashram also as part of it? He has not mentioned Varnashram as 64 items of devotional service. Right. Varnashram is not part of 64 items of devotional service. Please try to understand. So technically it is not Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Now, why we call it like that is because like Arjuna is fighting, correct? But he's fighting in a spirit of service to Krishna. So his fight also becomes, so it's more in the mood we are talking, but not in terms of action. In terms of action, it is Karma Yoga only. That action is not, Rupa Goswami is not listed fighting against enemies and adharmic people is part of 64 items of Bhakti. It's not said.
Yeah. I mean,
So technically
even
it
when
is not. Technically it is not. Technically
Yeah.
it is not. But if the mood of bhakti comes, then the whole life of a bhakta is bhakta only, na? For example, see, if somebody is a bhakta, then how can we say that when he's taking care of his family, ye karma hai, you know, this is jnana, he's thinking about Atma now, and now he's worshipping the deity, so this is bhakti. So we generalize it by saying that his whole life is full of bhakti, which is also perfect. But technically, when you want to distinguish, then you have to make that distinction. This becomes karma yoga only.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'm fine with this understanding that like whatever we are doing in our life is bhakti, because
Yeah.
Yeah, because that encompasses the whole aspect of our life.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when
yeah.
when we like when we also talk about the activities in bhakti, right? Then we only talk about hearing and chanting or
That's what
like
I
that.
said.
Then
No, that
we
is what
don't
I said.
discuss about the other aspects.
No, that is what I said. Because the activities of bhakti are 64 limbs of bhakti, na? You have to go to Rupa Goswami's work, obviously, na? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. 9 processes of bhakti Bhagavatam says. Rupa Goswami has expanded that 9 into 64. उसमें कहाँ ये सब आता है job work? So technically, when you start explaining bhakti, then these things only become bhakti. But then because you are doing all that bhakti in your life, the other aspects of your life, you're cleaning your house, you're cooking for the deity, you know, all that, you're going to the shop and buying things, all that also becomes like that. In a very broad sense, it becomes.
Yeah, yeah. But I see that contradiction.
Yeah, so you can resolve it by understanding that technically, if you go, then that becomes karma yoga only. Varnashram, everything is karma yoga
Okay.
only, technically. Technically, it is not bhakti yoga.
Right.
Technically, Varnashram is karma yoga only. But when you add bhakti in your life, then in your life, that aspect becomes like bhakti. But technically, that distinction remains.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hariman.
Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Balram.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. So, Prabhuji, so today we discussed about the jnana in the karma yoga, but
Yeah.
itself in the karma yoga also in the second chapter, also in the third chapter, and Krishna is speaking about action with knowledge of Atma. And in the
Yes.
third chapter also, like one you explained, the karma yoga has 3 components. One was that not becoming attached to the results
Yeah.
and not considering yourself as a doer, and lok
Yes.
sangraha. So not
Yes.
considering yourself as a doer itself is knowledge aspect.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Is there something more added on the karma yoga on in the fourth chapter above and beyond what is there in second and third chapter?
Yeah. So see, in the third chapter, Krishna was talking asakta lokarakshaye guneshwaropi kartritam. That means he's talking about doing karma yoga with these 3 attributes. Only 3 things he talks. Asaktya, that means without asakti, lokarakshaye for the benefit of people, loka sangraha, and understanding that the modes are forcing me to do so. Only this much Krishna speaks. But now in the fourth chapter, if you, I had discussed that the verses between 12 to 24, Krishna talks about so many more things. Krishna is talking about going beyond the duality of, happiness, distress, not being affected, nirashir, not doing things for sense gratification. Krishna is saying that in between 12 to 24, Krishna says that, don't do things because you want to enjoy life, right? That means practicing sense control. Krishna has added many components now here in the fourth chapter. Correct, which he did not speak in the third. In the second, he spoke about everything. That is why second chapter is called Contents of Gita Summarized. Because second chapter, everything was spoken. But then that second chapter, when everything was spoken, Arjuna got confused. He couldn't understand only what so many things are spoken. So in third chapter, Krishna introduces basic karma yoga only 3 attributes are said. But in the fourth chapter, Krishna is saying more. He's saying that you have to keep hearing from the Guru. All that jnana has to imbibe your work completely. That has to be part of the mood of your life. Okay, so in between 12 to 24, verse number 12 to 24, if you see now, I'm just trying to look up at some points which I may have missed now. I was just saying offhand, but all those things were there, right? Like okay. Yeah, yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varti. That means when you start doing action, you are not doing it thinking I want something. Something like that. Jnanagni dagda karmana. Abandoning, being satisfied. Krishna saying nitya tripto, being always satisfied. Nirashraya, being independent. That means not dependent on things in this world. You're doing action, but still you are not dependent on anything. But you are engaged in all kinds of action. Correct. Nirashir yata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha. Sarva parigraha means, thinking that I'm the proprietor of everything. Shariram kevalam karma. From possession perspective, you are minimized, but action perspective, phenomenal. See, Krishna is expecting something very high over here, if you look at that. Yadrichya lapa santushto. Please read all those verses between 12 to 24. Krishna is talking so much of jnana in it, which needs to get added. And how do you get this jnana? By hearing the Guru, who will enforce these things in your system. That is what he's saying. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. And when we understand this, Jnanagni destroys all the karma phala. Right?
Yeah.
So what does it mean that when we perform any action with Gyan, so there will be no karma phala account attributed to us, and the karma account will keep on reducing? Is that the meaning? Or
Yes.
the meaning is that we do karma, but it will not influence our mind. It will not influence the peace and the peace within our heart, and we'll continue working. So what is the exact meaning of destroying the karma?
No. Both things are part of it. Karma phala means, of course, it doesn't mean in a gross sense nothing will happen. Like if you do karma, then you will get some phala, right? I mean, in the sense that you're working in an office or whatever, you're a businessman, you will get money. It's not saying from that. It is basically saying that it will not bind you to this world in the next life. That's the main meaning here. Because Krishna is saying that the yogi, he has to go towards moksha. So even though he's engaged in action, because he's doing this action with so much of knowledge behind it, he's not going to get bound to this world in future life. Okay, so that's one way of understanding. And another way of understanding also obviously is that it will trouble him minimum. Because see, if somebody has such level of consciousness that Krishna is expecting, what he's talking in the 4th chapter, then he is not troubled only in this world, right? He doesn't need any counseling, literally. He's not bewildered. He's not thinking, I'm so sad today because somebody said like this to me. None of that. He is like free, right? So he's very happy in this world. And that's the characteristic of a yogi. There is where he's at peace with himself. And that's what Krishna means by saying that he's independent. He is not getting, caught up in the world, as in caught up in the sense of emotionally getting caught up or, getting too disappointed, frustrated. None of those negative emotions are hitting him. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, got it. And last question I have is akarma. So akarma is karma yoga plus gyan, which we discussed today, or like the 12 to 24 shloka. So that is called as akarma. Is that what is akarma?
Yeah. So see, akarma, now Prabhupada translates akarma as inaction. If you remember reading Prabhupada's work, Ramanujacharya says akarma means jnana. Why he says that? He's saying because from the 3rd chapter, Krishna is talking only 2 things, karma yoga or jnana yoga. So here akarma means jnana. So inaction means jnana. Inaction means what? Jnana. That means the knowledge part of it. Because knowledge is inaction. You don't see that externally. Okay. So that is how he defines it. So that's why that verse is there. One who sees yak akarmani akarmaye. That means one who sees action and inaction and inaction and action. So what that means, Ramanujacharya, is that when you're doing your varnashram duty, while doing the duties, you should have the knowledge of why you have to do this. And when you read this knowledge from the Upanishads or hear from your guru about Atma, about 3 modes, about proprietorship and so on, then you should understand that this knowledge is abstract and this knowledge is going to be seen in this world only when I do some action, and that action has to be varnashram. So basically, he says this is what it means, that in action there is inaction and in inaction there is action. And ultimately it leads to moksha because it frees you from bondage, as we saw in the last part of the 4th chapter. Okay, so there is some slight difference in the way acharyas explain it, but they are all towards the same conclusion.
So karma is also then the same thing, right? So Jnanagni, it's like Jnanagni, right? So just like the Gyanagni was destroying the karma phala. So akarma is nothing but your karma phala. You're doing karma yoga in such a way that there is no reaction to it. That is what is akarma.
Yeah, akarma means the jnana. That means the jnana is incorporated in your karma, and because you are doing everything with such knowledge, you are not getting bound, so you are being freed.
Okay.
Yeah. Haribol.
Thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Rajendra Kumar Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, Haribol Prabhuji, Dhanvat Bro. Bro, I had two questions. First is that we hear about this empirical philosophers who study Sankhya Yoga, and I wanted to know more like how do they practice this Gyan Yoga, and do they study or speculate, or they are studying the Upanishads?
Yeah, okay. So Jnana Yoga, the pure Jnana Yoga is not so much explained in Gita. Little bit it is explained in second chapter. I have not yet touched that part, but you know that Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava, you know that part of Gita which is there slightly talks about Jnana Yoga. Krishna has not elaborated it so much because Krishna's purpose was not to make Arjuna a Jnana Yogi. Because in Jnana Yoga, that pure Jnana Yoga method, first thing you give up action, and you give up action and you're only contemplating about the self. It's a very, very difficult process for most people because we are under the moods. So Krishna has also said in the 17th verse of the 3rd chapter, Yastu Atmarati Evasyad Atmatriptascha Manavaha. Atmanyevacha Santushta Tasya Karyam Na Vidyate. Krishna is saying, who can practice Jnana Yoga? One who is Atmarati, one who is completely satisfied in the self and has nothing to do with the body. That is why I said that, you know, it's very difficult to find examples of that. But something like you can see this, even the path of Shankaracharya and all that, it is kind of Jnana Yoga because they give up Varnashram, right? I mean, if you see Shankaracharya, when he takes sannyas, he gives up the sacred thread also. That is, when you give up the sacred thread, you are giving up all identification with Varnashram. And the whole focus is just to meditate on the self and to, you know, to rise above matter. So it's a very difficult process. So the starting, so that is why in this process, the starting point itself is literally Atmarati, one who is, you know, beyond the modes and so on. Only such a person can start that. So you will see very less examples, and that's why Krishna is not recommending it in the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. So Prabhu, here in this Dwapar Yoga, Krishna comes and he's giving emphasis on Karma Yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita, so I was thinking that in other yoga, is he emphasizing Gyan Yoga? Does that happen?
No, that doesn't happen. Never happens. Because Krishna is saying, no, that's why he's saying, no, I spoke the same knowledge to Vivaswan.
Oh, okay.
I mean, even to Vivaswan, he has given Karma Yoga only.
Karma Yoga, okay.
Yeah, because you see, Krishna comes for Dharma Samsarpanarthaya. Krishna says that even I do Karma Yoga when I come to this world. Krishna said that in the 3rd chapter. I forget everybody else. Even I do that only when I come here. He says that in the 3rd chapter. Like if you see Krishna book also, the 70th chapter of Krishna book, Krishna's daily activities. What is he doing? He's doing Karma Yoga.
Yeah.
He's getting his daughters married. He's getting his son married. He's going to the Ugrasen's kingdom. He's discussing politics. He's doing Karma Yoga. I mean, technically it is karma only, right? I mean, you may say Krishna's activities are transcendental, but that is true also. But from our perspective, it is basically action according to your situation in the world.
So the incarnations of Naranayan Rishi and Rishabdev, are they on the Gyan Yoga path?
Yeah. Rishabdev, yes, he is Jnana Yoga. When he gives up, at that point, when he gives. Now see, but again, now if you see, there the Jnana becomes Bhakti. That is Jnana Mishrit Bhakta. I mean, it starts from Jnana, but it ends in Bhakti only. Are you getting it now? So it's not pure Jnana Yogi. How can you call them pure Jnana Yogi? They're coming in Bhagavatam. Na? In Bhagavatam, these characters are Jnana Mishra Bhakta. So one explanation is given because many people were there in Shukadeva Goswami's assembly. Many were interested in Jnana. Shukadeva Goswami speaks such stories to attract them also to Bhakti. So they are not typical Jnani, but yes, that process is Jnana, what Rishabdev does. He gives up everything and he's like going on. But then it looks like Jnana, but from there he takes off to Bhakti. Like our Jad Bharat also. It is like Jnana only, if you see carefully. But then that is a process of Jnana that it does, just like, you know, inaction and, you know, don't do anything. You know, just be like a dumb fellow in the world. But then he's a Bhakta, we know that. So those stories are there in Bhagavatam to attract the pure Jnana Yogi.
Okay. So second question is that Vaipanand Prabhu also asked. When does Ramanujara says that karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga? I mean, at this point, he has not told
No,
that
seventh chapter
when we
onwards.
offer.
7th chapter onwards.
So
Because 7th to 12th chapter.
So till now, this point that you have to offer it to Krishna is not revealed.
It doesn't come in Bhagavad Gita only, na? Yat karoshi adeshnasi verse comes in 9th chapter Bhagavad Gita. What you are talking, offer it to Krishna.
So that.
See, in this 3rd chapter, Krishna said yajñarthat karmanon anyatra. But that yajna to whom you have to offer, that is more abstract. It's more like an absolute truth. Krishna is not specifically, specifically Krishna brings himself in the 7th to 12th chapter, na? Bhagavad Gita. That is bhakti, na? Middle section.
Okay. So that is where karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga.
And bhakti gets added on to it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah. Last question, Nitin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yeah, very well. Go ahead.
Yes. In continuation with the first question, ya gatva na nivartante, you have explained nicely that we have nothing to give and it doesn't matter much from where we have come. Just for the philosophical understanding, I'm asking that once the soul goes to the spiritual world after the bhakti, whether the soul comes back or it doesn't return. What is our understanding of that part?
No, one second. That part, everybody is very clear. Krishna has said in Gita, Yad Gatva Nani Vartante. And if the scripture it is said, once you go, you don't come back. So that part is uniform only. Don't worry. Yeah.
So from somewhere, I have heard from some devotees that it generally does not come back, but if one get jealous from that Krishna and something like that, you can come back.
No. Where is it said like that? It is nowhere. There is no Shastra Pramana. Yad Gatva Nani Vartante is very clear.
Our understanding is that by going there, the soul does not return back. Eh?
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. Anybody last one?
Last thing on this same thing that Nitin Prabhu asked. Does he come back to do service? Because that happens, right? But that is not fall down. That is not fall down.
Yeah, that's not fall down. It's like you are saying that, that's not fall down. So that's different.
So it is told that Guru has to come back again and again to take the soul, disciple's soul back.
No. There is no Shastra Praman for it. Which Shastra says that? You have to see Guru as a Tattva also over there. You can't see it as just that person. Guru as a Tattva is always there in the world. And through some agency will get you back. I mean, just to say that the Guru has to keep coming here. Now, if he is coming here as service, that's a different thing. Some evolved soul may be there, Paramahamsa, who wants to keep coming to this material world and keep taking people back to God. That's a different thing. That's again coming in the original category that we spoke. But
which Shastra you referred, Prabhuji? You taken the name of that Shastra?
What? I'm saying no Shastra says that you come back.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Bob. Yeah, someone else had a question, or is it done?
Prabhuji, a short thing, if I may ask.
Yeah, please. Last.
Yeah. So, it's just in continuation of the last few questions. Like you said, my father was not initiated, neither. I mean, he took up bhakti in the last 5-7 years of his life. But the way he left, and you assured me, and I spoke to many because it was very disheartening for me to leave him in early age. So you and others also told me the way he has left his body is rare, and he'll surely go to Golok. So, but his internal desire, what he used to share with us is that he said, because I started late, I want to come back again, and I want to start from the age of 4 or 5. That was his wish, like till last month also, whenever we used to have discussion, that was his wish. So like you're saying, they don't come back, but as Prabhuji also asked, if they want to come back for service or, something. So how do we understand that? And I strongly feel his presence sometimes, like he's around. So
see, actually, about this going back to the spiritual world, I think we should not be so impatient also about it. As in, everyone, if they are on the journey back, that is also seen as going back only. Okay, so many times also when we say going back, so it's just like, suppose let us say somebody is flying to America and let's say
Mhm.
his flight took off from Hyderabad and now it has landed in Dubai, and there is transit. होता है ना transit कभी Dubai में
Yes.
flight change करते थोड़ा. So some neighbor comes and asks, where has he gone? You say that he has gone to America. Okay, now the question is whether he has actually reached America. No, he hasn't. Perhaps he's in Dubai right now. Maybe he will take some, he may take another 20 hours to reach US or something. So similarly, for the Atma in an eternal journey of life, all these couple of lifetimes are seen like this only. It is like seeing a transit at Dubai. Come on. I mean, we need not. So it's not just about, quickly I have to reach JFK airport in New York and only then I have reached America. So let's not get so worked up with that. So the Shastra also says that Krishna is actually very patient with everybody. He's in a hurry, as in, yes, he wants people to come back to him, but then he wants everyone to be completely evolved also before they come back. So that process of evolution can take a few lifetimes here, but that is all seen as going back only to Godhead. So like I said,
In a very simple manner.
yeah, Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Babuji.
Hare Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Bhakti.